Hello, welcome to another episode of We Don't Talk About Uno, a podcast about the trading card game Lorcana. I'm sat here with my co-host David. How you doing, David?
Hi, Simeon. I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, I have a dream, Simeon.
You have a dream?
It's not even that extreme. I have a dream that we would know one day, maybe, the rules of Lorcana.
I mean, it could be a little while.
It could be. So I thought we'd have a fun time today, or we've discussed this, and we both thought we'd have a fun time today, being brave little speculators. And maybe we'll end up looking like terrible little speculators once the rules are known, but we're going to do some brave little speculations today on the rules of Lorcana and other stuff about Lorcana, the theme, things like that.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, sounds good. But first, we've got some news, right?
Some real news. So a couple of weeks ago, I tweeted and I said, I speculated. It was good speculation because it's come to be true. I speculated that we'd have news at Spiel 22, which is...
So what's Spiel 22?
Spiel is the German word for game or play.
Okay.
And there's a conference in Germany every year called Spiel. The Spiel Conference, and it's one of the biggest board gaming conferences in the world. And I speculated that we'd get some more news on Lorcana, which it's happening this weekend as we're recording this.
Oh, right, okay.
And I speculated we'd get more news, and we have had some more news. Not as much news as I thought we might get, a tiny little bit of news.
Okay, so tell us what the news is, and then we'll talk about the news.
The news, and I think you saw it before me.
I did see it online. I'm underwhelmed. I mean, I'm excited because I'm excited about the game, but I still feel maybe I'm just
underwhelmed.
I'm not overwhelmed.
Well, there's two bits of news. One is
yes,
they made cupcakes with Lorcana things on the top, and I wonder how much they're going to sell for on eBay, if at all.
I'm not going to be speculating on those.
The other is that they revealed there was a presentation you could go and sit through at the event. It didn't look as flashy as the one they did in California, just a PowerPoint you could sit and watch. And they dropped some more information in that at least no one had realised or shared online previously.
Okay.
And that is, well, one of the main pieces of information is the colours of the cards have names. They're called inks.
Yep.
And the inks, we might call them red and green, but they're actually ruby, amber, emerald, sapphire, amethyst, and steel.
The famous precious stone, steel.
The famous precious mineral that you pull straight out of the ground without doing any. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, maybe not. Yeah, okay. So I saw a lot of people put out content about this already. So This is possibly old news for people who are really keeping up to the bleeding edge of what's happening in this game. To be honest. So when I look at other trading card games, like Pokemon has, I don't know, a dozen different energy types. I don't really know the difference. I'm as likely to call leaf energy or grass energy. Is it a grass type Pokemon? But is it a grass or is it a leaf or is it just green energy? I don't think it really matters what they're called.
You could be right. It could really matter. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
It could be something that you... So another thing that's not news, but I've not seen many people talk about, is that the characters, and this isn't from this weekend, this is from D23, the characters are called glimmers.
Yes.
And I've not seen anyone talk about that and what that might mean. And there's lots of content creators around Lorcana now, and no one has picked up on that language as something that they feel is relevant for their channel or their... And I just wonder if that, again, is relevant. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain level of relevance in that it's a portrayal of a glimmer is not something definite. It's not the definite article, is it? It's like a portrayal or a representation of something.
Yeah.
So yeah, having that actually in the wording that they use in the game is probably something that means we might see other versions of these characters. I think we're going to talk about a little bit later on how certain types of those characters might not be, they could be like shadow versions of the characters or, the evil twins of characters and things like that. And I think that is a little more exciting than, oh no, it's not blue, I don't even know what I mean, I'm your typical. I don't know what color stones are. It's not red. It's sapphire. Did I get that one right?
No, I would imagine that ruby is red.
What colors are sapphire? Oh, this is it. I don't even know.
Yeah, you're right. I think a sapphire is blue.
Oh, okay, great. In that case, there we go. But yeah.
So the other news, and this was tweeted by the same person that attended this presentation, and actually to me this is more interesting. And not many people I don't watch every bit of content or engage with every bit of content about Lorcana, but I've not seen anyone talking about this. And actually, to me, this probably gets to the heart of the game more than the previous part. And I don't think this person would make up this language. They're attending a presentation. And so what they've put is Lorcana trading game, gather a group of characters, start quests, and earn lore. As in, and I've not seen that anywhere. So there's something around, you have a group of characters, like a band of characters. You're on quests to do something, which to me says the game, there's something more in the game than just about conflict. And you're earning lore, so you're trying to build up a resource of some kind. So that to me is much more substantial news, actually.
Oh, totally. And I think that's something that how I think of the game has definitely changed when it comes to that. I think that a lot of the most successful games are just one-to-one, head-to-head battles of whatever the resource is, get that resource to 0 or whatever it is. And that seems to have been the most successful, so therefore that's the most likely to be replicated. But now, no, I mean, it seems that, we're gathering whatever lore, whatever this resource is. And whether that's alongside battles, because it does look like there's some sort of challenging.
Oh, it does, yeah.
that happens. So there's obviously going to be some kind of board management of removing other people's characters from the game and things like that. But yeah, that definitely sounds more like a rule speculation, a win than maybe it's this or maybe it's that. No, that seems a bit more definite.
Yeah.
Amazing. There was one other thing that we tweeted about this week that I totally thought was fake news, and then you have just shown me is not fake news.
Do you want to talk through what I'm doing, Simeon?
Okay, so David has his one Lorcana card, which I'm not jealous of at all in any way, shape or form. He also has a torch, which I'm almost as jealous of the torch as I am of the card.
Yeah, I'm not going to aim it anywhere near your eyes.
It's the brightest thing I've ever seen, and it's tiny. It's amazing. Anyway, I won't put a link in the description because that's not... Yeah, anyway. And as you shine the torch through the card, you can clearly see the back of the card from the front of the card and vice versa. So you can see the logo that's on the back. So this got us thinking... Is this a security feature, or is this just a happy coincidence, or is that a bit of both? So we did the same experiment with a Magic the Gathering card, and you can see certain parts of the card, but not others. So with Magic the Gathering cards, the borders are blacked out, but the actual logo you can see through that part. So there are parts that you can see and parts that you can't see through with a shiny light. So that's a really interesting thing, and I think from a counterfeit perspective and from a collector's, and in particular if you're investing in these things, that could be something that helps. It might not be a counter copying, I don't even know what to call it.
An anti-fraud.
Yeah, an anti-fraud. It could that it be that it isn't, but it is something that will, I'm sure, will help people when they're grading cards and when they're establishing authenticity.
Yeah, and something I really like about it, and maybe they've thought about this, is it's reminiscent for me of the firework display you see at the start of a Disney movie over the castle, all those colours exploding outwards, and you get that at Disneyland as well. It's kind of got that colours in a night sky kind of look about it, which is cool. When you shine light, it looks
super cool. If you have a Lorcana card, then shine a torch through it because it does look super cool. Great. Anyway, shall we go on to the main episode topic?
We shall.
So what we're going to do is we're going to speculate on the rules, and we're going to do that by going down a card and speculating on each little section of that card. And what we'll do is, if you're listening to this in a year's time, then you might want to switch this off and just go and read the rules. But you also might want to go read the rules and then come back and listen to it and laugh at how hilariously wrong we are and how everything we thought is definitely not the case. If anybody plays Magic the Gathering and listens to content, Saffron Olive does this with his predictions. When a new set comes out, he tries to predict how good these cards are going to be, and then he goes back and revisits them, and it's usually hilariously Well, I mean, he does very well, but there are sometimes things that's just like, yeah, that seems like a decent card, and it's literally the most powerful card in the set.
So leave us a comment and let us know whether we won gold, silver, or bronze in the terrible Speculators Olympics, because we want to know. We especially want to know who won the gold.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Maybe we'll get together with some other content creators and go, okay, who did better? Anyway, okay, so we're going to, the card we're going to be using is Robin Hood, the Unrivaled Archer. We're going to start right at the top. If you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a picture. If you're listening to this, there won't be a picture on a podcast app, because that's not a feature.
Can we put a link in the show notes to a picture of the Robin Hood card?
Sure, why not?
Yep.
Go for it. So in the top, I don't know my left from my right, in the top left-hand corner, there's a little logo and a six-sided hexagon. I think it's a hexagon. And it says 6. We don't know. That's probably one of the most mysterious things about the card. We don't know what that is.
I like that you're saying it's mysterious, because there's a really, really broad consensus among content creators. That's why I like that you're saying it's mysterious, because you're going against the crowd who are saying this is going to be the cost of playing the card. So a lot of these trading card games, you have to pay something, not money, but another resource from the game.
Yeah, the game gives you resources, and you have to pay those resources.
And the assumption is that you're going to have to pay some kind of resource to play these cards, and that is the amount you have to pay. I'm going to say I think that's probably right, but I like that you say it's not a given, because I don't think it is a given.
Well, that's it. Okay, so there's a few things. Firstly, it is the little symbol. It looks like the Lorcana logo. However, in place of the little star in the middle is the number, and the number surrounded by a hexagon. I immediately link hexagons, because of my gaming past, to the silhouette of a D20. So a D20 dice. A 20-sided dice, yes, which you use in Dungeons and Dragons. So I do wonder, that could be a little clue, because, trading card games are usually good at giving us little clues.
It could be linked to the 6 colours as well.
It could be linked to the 6 colours, yeah. Are there 6 colours, or are there 7?
6.
Oh, yeah, there's only 6, because there's 7 cards and we've got 2 red ones.
Yes.
Oh, check us out. Quick maths. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that I've got any better idea than this being the casting cost. This being how much it costs, how many resources it costs to cast the card.
To bring to life this glimmer.
To bring to life this character, to play the card. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's got to be the case. But if they came out with something totally different, I wouldn't be totally surprised.
No.
Okay, then we have a beautiful piece of art. This one is by John Lauren, who, if you don't know John Lauren's work, go and have a look at it. He did a lot of work on Spyro the Dragon. I don't know how to say this word. Anyway.
Which was a computer game.
A computer game, yes. Anyway, incredible artist. And then it says the cards, there's got a little banner in blue. On this card, it's blue. So this is what identifies the card as different colours. And it says the name of the character, Robin Hood. And then it's got a subtitle. And the subtitle in this case is Unrivaled Archer. Do you think there's any significance in the fact that they've divided up the name and the subtitle?
I was going to ask you the same question. I do think there's significance in that. Mm-hmm. And what I think is that allows them to have... It allows the option of having different versions of the same character.
Different glimmers.
Different drawings, different bringing to life through ink of the same character, which fits really well with what Disney does. And if you look at our archive of Twitter, one thing that Disney does a lot is repeat tropes, visual themes in their films. Uh-huh. So if you look at Baloo the Bear in the Jungle Book.
Yes.
And Little John in Robin Hood. They almost look very, very similar. So it's kind of drawing on that. I think it even might have the same voice actor. I'm not sure, but it's a very similar voice actor.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see very similar, in quick succession, very close together, different versions of the same characters.
Yeah.
And that will be really interesting. Next to that, hang on, let's just go down a little bit. Mm-hmm. Just down from that, there's a little logo, which seems to be, there's a different logo for each colour. So that just is another little reminder that this is blue sapphire.
Yeah, I think that's for colourblind players. I think that to make it accessible.
Yep, so probably from an accessibility point of view, that's an excellent addition. And then underneath the subtitle, before we get to the other numbers there, are, in particular when it comes to Robin Hood, there are 2 words that describe him, and one is Storyborn and the other is Hero. So depending on the card, there's between 2 and 4 descriptors. What are these?
That's a really good question. I'm not completely sure, but I really liked. There was a video from the Illumineers, John T. Sparrow, and he reflected on what this might mean, and he looked at the difference between. So there's 3 types of born that we know about. There's storyborn, dreamborn, and floodborn.
Yeah.
And Stitch is the only floodborn character that we've got at the minute. And what John T found looking at the cards is the storyborn cards typically reflect the art from the movie. So Robin Hood is a storyborn character, and this is original art, but it looks very much like the Robin Hood out of the movie. Whereas the dreamborn characters are different in some
they're
way.
almost reimagining.
Reimaginings, that's the word I was looking for, of those characters. So a really good example is Captain Hook. He's called Captain Hook because normally he has a hook on his hand, or where his hand was, as his prosthetic limb. And in the card, he has a blade.
Some kind of cutlass instead of a I wouldn't be surprised in particular if we see different characters or if we see the same character both as a storyboard, as a representation, a clear representation of something from a Disney movie, and as a dreamborn. The last one is floodborn, which given that they're talking about ink so much, I like to think this is just the chaos cards where they've just tipped over the inkwell and it's just flooded the page with whatever.
Well, Stitch can be played on top of another Stitch. It says that on the cards, so
maybe that's
makes
a mechanic.
Sense. Yeah. The one area where the dreamborn theory falls short is the Mickey Mouse card, because Mickey Mouse, the brave little tailor, is dreamborn.
Okay.
Now that could be however, the character on the card looks very similar to the character. There's not substantial differences to the character within the film if you watch the short film.
Well, I guess it depends which representation of Mickey Mouse you're going for.
That's the thing. So it could be
as in the whole Brave Little Tailor short is a reimagining of that story
Mickey Mouse,
with Mickey Mouse as an actor.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So it could. We might be stretching it a little bit, but equally it could work really well that either you have dreamborn or storyborn.
Well, if you have a binary, or in this case, 3 different categories. If you have categories, you're going to have to put the different characters in the different categories. The other thing we've seen is that all cards are either heroes or villains.
So what do you think that means?
Well, there's a lot of speculation as to whether can these go in the same deck. Is it that you've got to play a hero deck or a villain deck, or is it the same with the other things, or do you have to play a storyborn deck, or whether there's a deck building restrictions, whether you can put the same cards in the deck. I personally like games where you can put as many different cards as you possibly can in the same deck. I think that having a few restrictions is positive. Having too many restrictions is just ends up being an unhappy experience when you open the cards. So the example I give of that is I got well into a game called Warhammer Champions, and there were 4 different factions, and you could only put cards from each faction in each of the 4 different kinds of deck. Which meant that I'd open up a pack of cards, super excited to see what I got, and maybe there'll be 2 cards that I was actually interested in playing.
Yeah, maybe only villains can challenge heroes and only heroes can challenge villains. That could be a way that works. You could have both in your deck, but you can only challenge a character of a different type. Yeah,
I've seen that kind of floated online as well, and while that's probably that would be a good mechanic. That different you've got to have a balance in your there's got to be balance in the Force in your deck to be able to deal with other people's deck. You've got to have a good balance between those. It does bring in a level of complexity that I'm not sure.
The size of the text on the cards.
It's
absolutely tiny. So you'd really have to ask every time someone played a card, is that a hero or a villain? So I think it's more, if it does relate to a restriction, it's more likely to be the deck building restriction.
Yeah, and also I think that deck building restrictions can be a lot more, you're paying attention to the card when you're doing that. But also, I think that when it comes to playing this game, especially if we're playing this with kids, or we've already talked about this probably being a much more accessible game than a lot of other trading card games, then there's one thing that people hate doing, and that's being told, no, that's not how this works. So if it's like, oh, I'm going to challenge your character, no, you can't do that, it's this type of character rather than that type of character, that leads to a really negative gameplay. And I think that's something that would come out through focus groups if they were playing it that way, if that's a rule that was floated. I think that would come out as, oh, people don't like being told that they can't do the thing that they want to play the game intuitively, and that leads to less intuitive play.
That said, I think if there was a restriction that a deck is either a hero deck or a villain deck, that's pretty intuitive and makes sense to a 4-year-old.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, you can only have heroes in your hero deck. Oh, yeah. What type of deck is that? A hero or a villain deck? Oh, great. There we go. Brilliant. Nice. So next to this little blue band that we're currently discussing, as I said, it's different colors on different cards. There are 2 numbers. One is in a kind of exploding sun, and one is in a shield. So we're kind of assuming that the number in the exploding sun, I think most people have gone down the assumption that there are a lot of other games that work on this premise, where you have some kind of attack or power or whatever that you want to call the action number, and some kind of defense or shield or whatever you want to call the preventative number.
If that's not what those mean, that would blow my mind, because because the iconography just says it completely, doesn't it?
Yeah, if it's not that, then they need to fire their graphic designer. Oh my goodness, it seems that. Now, okay, so we've both played trading card games which have a power and a toughness type,
an attack and a defense,
or an attack and a defense numbers, like Magic the Gathering, for example. And we've also played trading card games where there's only one number. For example, a Final Fantasy trading card game. Do you think that it's better and clearer? What do you think do you think it's better to have one number for this and just have this is the card's power, or do you think having two separate numbers is a benefit?
Having 2 separate numbers allows for more decision space, but that creates more complexity, doesn't it? So in this game, maybe I'm a bit surprised that they've gone for 2 separate numbers, but given the game is designed, at least the named designers on Board Game Geek are 2 people who historically have worked on Magic the Gathering. I can understand why they've gone down that route, because that's the route that they would really completely understand. Yeah,
totally. I think, from when I've played different games, having cards with multiple facets to them, the more things you can fit on that card leads to more types of deck. So purely on a power level, if you've got a deck, if for example with Final Fantasy trading card game where you've literally only got one number, there are decks that play a lot of little things, or there are
low
decks,
numbers,
a lot of low numbers, and there are decks that play a few high numbers. You end up with the same number overall, because that's how they balance the game, but it's kind of a spectrum. Whereas when you start playing games which have this divided into some kind of power or strength and some kind of defensive number, that allows for a lot more types of deck purely on that level, that you can have a
defensive deck,
or a defensive deck.
You
can have an offensive deck, or you can have ones that are super low to the ground, as they say, just it doesn't matter, so just get as many things out there.
They tend to be low cost characters, like Captain Hook.
Just get them out.
Or we're assuming the number in the top left is the cost. Low cost characters, you get lots of them out as quickly as you can and see if you can close out the game quickly.
So I think that really is a lot more play patterns by adding another thing there that adds to a lot more different play patterns. So I'm excited to see it that way. Okay, so underneath that we've got some rules text. So when it comes to Robin Hood, it says there seems to be the name of the...
I would call it ability text.
Ability, yeah. It seems to have the name of the ability followed by an explanation of what that is. So, for example, it says, Feed the Poor. When you play this character, if an opponent has more cards in their hand than you, draw a card. So that seems to be, and there's another one underneath it called good shot during your time. During your turn, this character has evasive. They can challenge characters with evasive. Now, this probably has led to the most speculation, or these little bits of snippets of text. So let's take them each separately. Why are people excited by the text on Feed the Poor, David?
I can say why I'm excited about it.
Okay.
And there's a couple of reasons. The first one is that it lets you draw a card. So, and that's always a powerful thing in a trading card game.
It's the best. It's literally the best thing. I don't know what the top card on my deck is.
It seems
now I do.
It seems like such a boring thing, but the more you play trading card games, the more you get excited about things that say draw a card.
That's not what I was talking about.
I know it's not what you were talking about, but I wanted to come to that first.
Amazing.
And maybe I'll talk a bit more about why that's cool on this card as well in a minute. But the other thing that is really, really exciting about this card, and I'd like to talk about this quite a lot, is it says an opponent rather than your opponent or the opponent, which means quite clearly to me, either they've got a really bad person doing the proofreading who's terrible at their job, or it's a multiplayer game.
Yeah, I think that having the option for multiplayer is so important. I love games that are two-player games. There are some amazing games that I've played that are amazing because they're two-player.
Yeah.
I think we've played a lot of Fields of Arla, the board game.
Yeah.
That's an incredible game because it's like so knife-edge balance and you are trying to just do slightly better. You don't have to do well. You just have to do better than your opponent. That's such a great game.
Yeah.
But most games I enjoy playing, I enjoy getting a group of friends together and having a fun time, chatting across the table and playing the game. I
didn't enjoy trading card games, not really, until I tried a multiplayer version of one, and then it came to life for me.
Yeah.
That it's such a different experience to have a multiplayer game compared to a single player game.
And while there are multiplayer...
two-player game, I mean, sorry.
Yeah. And while there are multiplayer variants of a lot of different trading card games, really, Magic the Gathering... and correct me, please, pop this in the comments if I'm wrong, but Magic the Gathering is the only one that's really taken off. When I look at... Pokemon still seems to be very much one-on-one, even though there are multiplayer variants.
Yeah.
And then there are games that have literally been designed with the two-player in mind. So the Digimon game that came out last year before last, was very much designed on a kind of sliding ladder of activations. And that, for me, was... And if you like that kind of thing, brilliant, great. But that for me was a total put off of like, oh, okay, that's such a rigid space that I know I'm never going to play that with the people that I play games with because we get 4 or 5 of us in the room at the same time. Yeah.
The other thing, Magic the Gathering for nearly 2 decades was a 2-player game. It was designed as a 2-player game. Yep. It was played as a 2-player game. Yep. It was only players designing their own variants of the game that turned it into a multiplayer game. And now... that's the most popular version to play.
That is, and it's most popular and best. I'm not biased.
It is the best. I agree. We'll come to a bit in another episode about that. But I really didn't enjoy Magic when I first played it.
Yeah.
So what I like about Robin Hood is, what I'm wondering about whether blue, so different colours can relate to different characteristics in these games, and I'm wondering whether blue relates to fairness, because in other trading card games there are certain colours that relate to, this is the deck, this is the colour that plays the most fairly, that likes things to be fair, and I'm wondering, based on both of Robin Hood's abilities, if blue likes things to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that spoke to me more about the draw a card being an ability is that most card games have that as being quite a powerful thing. Obviously, you've got more resources if you draw more cards, more things, more possibilities, more things you could do. Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see, is this a game which is a game where card draw is something that you really need to manage and it's really difficult to come by, like Magic the Gathering? Or is this a game where literally you refill your hand every turn?
Like Marvel Champions.
Yeah, like Marvel Champions, because that's a fun thing to do. Either way, drawing a card is powerful, but drawing a card in a carefully, in a game which really restricts that is much more exciting, and will probably tell us a lot about the strength of the card.
I expect this will lean more towards the Marvel Champions way of doing things, just because it can be so frustrating to have a nearly empty hand or an empty hand, and because it's a family game, I think they want people to feel like they've got lots of choices every turn.
Well, I'm not sure. There's two things. That one thing leads me in each direction. Yes, what you said, I think people want it's a better experience for most people to have more options. However, this is a card that costs 6 if we're taking the casting cost as that was what it is. The cost 6 to play. So I do wonder if drawing a card is going to be something relatively powerful that is harder to come by, because that's not a cheap card when you've got other cards that cost 1 or 2.
Yeah, but if say you've got a hand of 5 cards each turn, you refill your hand to 5 cards every turn.
Okay.
And you draw an extra card that turn, you're 20% more powerful. That's a lot more powerful.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's every card game. You want more cards in your hand. I mean, brilliant. Okay, and then the other ability is Good Shot, referring to the bow and arrow. During your turn, this character has evasive, and then it has a little bit of reminder in brackets that says they can challenge characters with evasive. 2 things here. Evasive only really has any meaning if we take that in the context of the other thing, which is challenging. So what do you think a challenge is?
I'm not sure what a challenge is. I think it will mean like a kind of duel between 2 characters.
Okay.
So you'll choose your character to have a duel with another character. I think that's what it means. But to me, that doesn't feel very exciting, because then it's just like we talked about in the first episode, Top Trumps. It's just comparing numbers and see which has the best numbers. So to me, that doesn't seem like exciting gameplay, but it could be.
I mean, it depends how many things are on the table in front of you, because it can lead to exciting decisions. So if I've got relatively few ways of getting rid of my opponent's things, and I need to either challenge. Maybe I can challenge. I've got a choice between the things I can challenge. I could challenge that one or that one or that one or that one. So that's a decision point.
But is it a decision point if you've got a character that's got power 4, strength 4,
yes,
and they've got a character that's got defense 5, defense 6, and defense 2, you've only got one character that you can challenge, so it's not a decision point.
Yeah, but if they've got 3 different things that I could challenge. Also, there's then the opportunity. There's then the whole thing with challenging. It might be that you have to turn the card sideways to challenge, and then can it be challenged, or can it be removed in some other ways? Because we've seen Elsa turning a card sideways and it not being able to be used. So I do wonder if there's a bit more of an interesting.
So uses her freezing magic on the cards. I like it. It's thematic.
Yes, it's thematic. Yeah, but this is something that I think is really important when it comes to card games, is that people have that agency to decide what they want to do.
Yeah.
Which I think sometimes it really a lot of card games, there is an obvious best play all of the time.
Yeah.
Or it's a binary. Do I attack with this card or not? Is just a binary. Whereas card games with more decision points are usually more attractive to me.
Yeah. So one of the things that can happen when a character is challenged, I believe from the ability text on other cards, is that the character gets banished.
Yes.
So I presume that means if the character that's doing the challenging has more power than more strength than the defense, more attack than the defense of the character being challenged, then it gets banished.
Yes.
That's my presumption. I'm curious about how that might relate. And this is probably the most exciting part of our speculation, is these little, I'm going to call them diamond shapes. They're kind of like I know you do a lot of drawing and sketching with fountain pens. They're kind of like the nib of a fountain pen shape. I wonder if it relates to ink. Yeah,
it could be. Yeah, it could. It looks like a designer has tried to go something that draw something in between a fountain pen nib and an ink droplet, and a
precious mineral.
Oh, check you out! And it's also in the logo of Lorcana. If you look on the back of the card, it is the logo inside the circle.
So it's clearly significant. So there's been lots of speculation on what these symbols mean.
Okay.
And initially there were people saying this could relate to the rarity of the card. So if it has a higher number of these diamonds, that card will be more rare. So there'll be fewer of them printed. That could still be true, but I think if it is true, it's going to mean more than that. It's not just going to be how rare this card is.
Yeah,
because it's so significant and prominent, and it's in the logo of the game.
It seems too prominent for that. So when I saw it, I initially thought that this would be maybe the resource, so that perhaps, just as an example, I don't know how the resource would work, but for example, if you discarded Robin Hood, it's got 2 of these little pips along the side. If you discard Robin Hood, you get 2 pips to play your other cards with, for example.
Towards playing another
card.
So you might have to discard a few to play it. Yeah.
So that's an option. That's not mutually exclusive to the other option, which has been floated a lot online, which is that this is the winning condition of the
So if it's a winning condition, it could be that you need a certain number of these pips out among your own characters. It could be that you need to banish a certain number of the opponent's pips from the opponent's characters.
Yes,
So there's a couple of ways that could work.
I did think that could be, so as soon as there are 10 little pips banished, you've won the game of your opponent. However, in multiplayer, that's messy. And also...
Tell me how that's messy in multiplayer.
So in multiplayer, is that per player? So is the player banished and then I have to do it again for everybody else?
You're going on a quest to collect pips, so you're just collecting pips from whoever you want to collect them from.
Oh, so in multiplayer, if I've got 3 opponents, then it's exponentially more easy for me to do this because...
But it's much more easy for them to do it as well.
Because, for everybody
there could be different levels at each player count. I mean, that does make the game a bit more complicated. But
I would say that maybe if I was trying to solve multiplayer games, or I was trying to solve the problems that the current multiplayer format, Commander in Magic the Gathering, has, is that the game needs to come to an end neatly,
and quickly. Or relatively, in under an hour rather than in under 3 hours.
But at the moment, that's simply not the case, is that people get knocked out of a lot of these games and then just sit there for 45 minutes watching everybody else play. And I think that was probably something, if I was designing a new game, I'd want to avoid that. So I think that, that could be, I think, having different number of pips banished, I think could be super messy, and they'd have to have a really clear...
But having a number of pips out, so it's like a race game to get the most
but having a number
out.
of pips actually on the table, or on the table and not turn sideways, or whatever it might be.
Or turn sideways, so you might turn a card sideways to either challenge or to collect pips from that character. So Mickey has 4 pips, and Mickey is a 5 attack, 5 defense. So Mickey's quite a powerful card, which makes sense because he costs, if we're thinking that as a cost 8. So it could be that you either, and Mickey's evasive as well, so he can challenge other evasive characters, which makes him especially powerful. So it could be that you either challenge or you collect 4 pips. But then you need somewhere to keep track of that. But that's not out the realms of possibility, because most trading card games have something outside of the cards that you need to keep track of, typically a life total or something like that. So this could be pips. It could be going the other direction. Yeah,
so that's something we've seen recently in the Fantasy Flight game Keyforge, which is now owned by a different company. But yes, so in Keyforge, you turn the characters sideways and each one will make you 1 resource, and you collect that number of resources. You collect
resources to buy other resources in Keyforge, if I remember correctly.
You collect resources to buy other... Oh my goodness, that's the most complicated game I've played in a while.
I don't think Lorcana is going down that route.
No. But, it could simply be, you're collecting lore, as it said. I think that's, it's really important to come back to the text that we actually have, the things we actually know about the game. Okay, so we talked about the pips, we've talked about the rules text. There is one super important thing left on the card. There's 2 super important things.
There's a few super important things.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, go on. What's your super important thing?
All of the, we've mentioned this before, but all of the flavor text, i.e. the little bits on card, the little quotes on card that are not part of the game.
Really bring it to life. They're
so good.
I wouldn't say they're quite as important as the art, but they're pretty much up there in terms of the importance of bringing a game to life. Yeah.
So I believe this is an actual quote from the movie on Robin Hood. It says, "We never rob, we just sort of borrow a bit from those who can afford it." But most of them have been written exclusively for the game. There was a thread by one of the game creators, Kelly, can't remember the surname, and
Stickers.
Oh, brilliant! Yes, go on YouTube. Go on YouTube? No, don't go on YouTube. Go on Twitter and find that thread. But it's really beautiful flavor text, and I think it's important to recognise this is Disney have this massive wealth of really well written scripts and things to borrow from. So they're obviously playing to their strengths here. Okay, what are the other important parts of the card then, David?
Well, you said there's 1, so what's your 1?
Well, there's collector information at the bottom, isn't there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's put it all together into that. It's important. mainly for collectors, the information at the bottom. It says the illustrator of who's illustrated the card.
This is whoa, hang on, let's stop there. This is super important. If you have artists doing work for you, pay those artists well, and then tell
Credit
everybody
them,
credit them. Tell everybody who's done the amazing
But
art.
that also makes it more collectible, because I know that you, Simeon, somebody might want to collect all the cards of a particular artist. And I know you've done that in terms of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, that's super important. And it's also something we've seen some card games do, and it's good. It's always good. And we've seen other card games either be hit and miss with, or there are some card games that have only just started not doing it. So there is a really famous artist that does called John Blanche, who does work for Games Workshop, and on the Magic the Gathering Games Workshop crossover, the art is credited to Games Workshop, not to John Blanche. Yeah, I mean, I want to know who actually did this amazing piece of art. There's all the collector details as well. So there's a number. There's the set information, there's the language it's been printed in. At the bottom of the ones we've seen already, there's the D23 stamp.
Yeah. I think it's cool that it's clear it's going to be printed in lots of different languages, so that they're going big with this from the start. They want it to be an international game.
Yeah, I think that's that where we've seen popular card games before, they've often been printed in a number of languages. And one of the coolest thing that's ever happened was I was playing at a Keyforge night once at the games shop, and a group of Spanish and Italian students just turned up, and they were playing their decks in a different language, and we got the app out to try and work out what everybody else was playing, and it was super cool. Okay, so that wraps up our speculation. However, we did ask the child to do some speculation for us, and Child has speculated on the numbers in the game. Let's have a listen. It's Child.
Yay.
Hello, how are you doing today, Child?
Good.
So this episode is all about speculating about the rules that we don't know yet, and the cards that we haven't seen yet, and how they might work together, and no one's really sure except for the people that have designed the game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you to speculate what you think, have a guess at what you think some of the numbers in the game are going to be. And you're going to be right, because let's be honest, you're excited about this and you're a kid, and there's nothing more right than an excited kid. So we're going to go purely on numbers. How many cards do you think are going to be allowed in a deck?
I think it might be 50 or 100.
50 or 100? 100's a lot of cards for a deck, isn't it?
In Magic, they have 100 cards in a deck.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll listen back when we know all of these things, and then you'll know if you're right or not. Do you think there's going to be like a life total, or do you not think it's going to be based on life?
I think there might be some fighting.
Okay.
So they might have life.
Okay, how many of each card do you think will be allowed in a deck?
What do you mean?
Do you think you'll be able to use like all Mickey cards, or do you think they'll say, oh, only 2 or 3 or 1, or how many?
Maybe they could at least say 2. But in like Pokemon, you can put as many cards of the same as you want.
Can you?
I think so, yes.
I don't know. I don't really know the rules of Pokemon.
In Magic, is it restricted to only like 1 or 2?
So in Magic, the format we play is only 1 card, but some formats have got 4 cards.
Okay.
Of each card. What do you think? So we are assuming that the little number in the top hand corner is going to be the cost to play a card.
Like in Magic with the mana.
Like in Magic with the mana, yeah. So what do you think is going to be the most expensive card in the first set to play out?
Mickey?
So Mickey has already been spoiled.
Really?
Oh, that costs 8.
8. Mickey.
And Maleficent, the dragon, costs 9. Do you think there's going to be anything more that costs more than that?
I don't think so.
Have you got any other, like, predictions? Like, look into your crystal ball.
Crystal ball? I don't have a crystal ball.
But look into your fake crystal ball. And have you got any predictions for the actual gameplay?
On the card, you know they have, like, a roll.
Uh-huh.
They might do something with that and say, and some moves for the card. Say Mickey.
Yeah.
Isn't Mickey's roll?
So Mickey's roll, there's 2 things. It says Dreamborn and it says Hero.
So Mickey will be a hero in Dreamborn.
Yeah.
So there might be restricted moves that are only for that card.
Oh,
with
I
the
see,
rolls.
Yeah. With the rolls,
and the rolls mean something, so they can do like a special move.
Yeah, that could be good. So we'll chat to you again once we know the rules, and we'll find out if you're right or not.
Isn't that in like 2023?
Yeah, that's in ages.
Okay. Bye.
50 or 100 cards, Simeon.
Either
What do you
50
think?
or 100 cards,
Yeah.
nothing in between.
I like the question about will there be the opportunity to have the same character in a deck? I'm gonna go strong on this and say no. At least not the same version of the same character. So you won't be able to have two of Robin Hood Unrivaled Archer in the same deck.
Really? You think it's going to be Highlander, or just one of every card?
I think it will be one of every card because it's
So-
about bringing together a band of characters, and I don't think having two Robin Hoods in your band fits the theme very nicely.
The difficulty with that, though, is that when you've got relatively few sets,
Yeah,
so when you're starting out and you've literally just released the first chapter and it's got somewhere between, we're assuming, 200,
Yeah.
maybe 300 cards, maybe, is that there aren't that many. If you're trying to put all of the cards that are red together, if there's 6 colours, there might be 50 different red cards. And if you've got to have one of each, that doesn't allow for a lot of liberty with deck
I
building.
think it'll be multicolored.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, there might be multicolour, or different ways of putting those
Yeah.
colours together. But it does mean that if you're looking at a 50-card deck, you're going to have most of the cards to do that. I think it'll start with more than one card, more than one copy of each card. Maybe people will then play it as Highlander because that's super popular in other card games as only one.
Yeah, I
copy.
just wonder if they're going to go down that route right away, just because that is the most popular format in Magic. That they
They'll
realised
pitch it.
that and noticed that and said, "Yeah, that's how we're doing it."
I mean,
And
it's
yeah,
also
yeah.
it's really good from a sales point of view. In that, I've got you 2 of those cards. No, you can't put those in the same deck. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, and the other thing is that what it will mean in the early sets is there's a limited number of ways to bring those cards together.
Okay.
And so that will make the game simpler to learn in some ways. So it could,
Yeah,
it could be helpful in
maybe
that
the
respect.
restriction is a good thing. Maybe the
Yeah.
restriction is brilliant. Yeah, actually, that's not a bad thing. That there are only 4 or 5 different archetypes of deck that you really have to learn.
And one of the reasons I am sitting on it so strongly is because it's a deck building restriction and a gameplay restriction in Marvel Champions. So you can't have 2 of the same hero in the same deck.
Yeah,
Or it's possible that you're playing with someone who has the same hero as you in their deck. But if you've got that hero out on the board, they can't play that hero.
Oh, is that the case in Marvel? So that
Yeah.
used to be the case in Magic the Gathering, and they got rid of that rule
Yeah.
because it meant that at high levels of play, people were playing copies of heroes that other people would want to play just to get rid of them from the other side of the table.
I'm not following how that would work.
So, okay. So in Magic, it used to be the case that you could only have one legend in play. So if you had whichever legend you wanted in play, Valduke, yeah, I mean, he was printed after this rule, but doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you had Valduke, Keeper of the Flame, the best Magic card ever printed, I'm only a little biased. If I had that in play, and you wanted to play your own, you could pay for and play your own copy of that,
Yeah.
and that would instantly destroy my copy.
Oh, that's rubbish. Yeah, I can see why they got rid of that rule. Yeah, whereas in Marvel Champions, it makes more sense because
It's just
a
then sat
cooperative
dead.
game.
Well, it's
Yeah.
a cooperative game.
So you're working
yeah.
together to defeat the villain. So having 2 Spider-Man and Spider-Man turn up to defeat Rhino doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah. I think you pick a different character. Having 2 Spider-Mans turn up is actually very thematic.
Okay,
Maybe they should...
2 Wolverine.
That would be brilliant. How brilliant would it be if in Marvel Champions they printed Miles Morales or one of the other Spider-Mans and were like, oh, great, yeah, you can play this Spider-Man deck with other Spider-Man deck. That would be brilliant. I'm there for that. I've enjoyed the
This
little of Marvel
discussion has got
Champions.
so geeky.
Oh, totally. So we have a listener question this week from Ben, who emailed us at lorcanapodcast@gmail.com. If you have your questions, you can do the same, or you can drop us a tweet at Lorcana Podcast, or just get in touch with us when you see us on the social medias. Anyway, Ben asked, what flavour combos or non-bos are you most looking forward to? So a combo is where two cards work very well together. A non-bo is kind of slang for when two cards work really poorly together. So Ben says, personally, I'd love to build Scrooge McDuck alongside Oaken's Trading Post. Also, Maurice's Woodchopper alongside Animal from the Muppets could only be a good time, which sounds amazing. So I've got an amazing non-bo that I want to see.
Go on.
Which is, so we've already seen Captain Hook.
Yeah.
Captain Hook, amazing character. The card art is one of the coolest card arts, and also really cheap if we're assuming that the card casting cost for what it is. So I think that will be a powerhouse. I would love to see, to counteract that, obviously, famously, Captain Hook lost his hand to the TikTok croc. Is that what it's called?
I'm not sure, but the crocodile.
The crocodile.
Yeah.
However, there is another crocodile stroke alligator in the Marvel Universe, and that is, have you seen the Loki series, Marvel series?
I've started watching it, but I haven't got to a crocodile bit.
There's an alligator Loki.
Oh, wow.
It's so good. Anyway, I wanted to print an alligator Loki card, or crocodile, I'm not sure what it is.
To go alongside your Captain Hook.
No, to counteract, to hard counter the Captain Hook. Tell us about a combo or non-bo you'd like to see.
I've got a couple. So one is, for the 5-year-old in my life, is Princess Tribal. So I'm thinking about tribal combos. So that's when you have cards of a similar type that work well, or hopefully work well together.
Yeah.
A theme deck, yeah. So Disney Princess would be one theme that I know a lot of little people would love.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing. So we've already seen Elsa, but that's really all we've seen from the princesses, right?
Yeah, so far, yeah.
Okay, so in that,
yeah,
they're printing, we've already talked about them putting cards in different categories.
Yeah.
So let's say there is a princess category. Does Leia from Star Wars go in that princess category?
Of course.
Brilliant. Okay, that's great. So long as we're on the same page there. Okay.
And then the other one, coming back to your Peter Pan, would be Flying Tribal. So lots of flying characters together. So you'd have Peter Pan and Wendy, but you'd also have like the birds from Cinderella and Enchanted, like the Disney and Snow White and Bambi. All the little flying animals and anything flying from Disney. I'd like to put together and see how that works.
And what happens with it? What's the rules for a flying? Is it like in Magic the Gathering?
I imagine they'd have evasive. I think that's how they would.
They would
call
just
it
all be evasive.
Yeah, but for me, I would choose ones that are evasive because in the relevant movie that they fly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There's one other non-bo that I think we were discussing before, which is Elsa. We've already seen the Ice Queen.
Yeah.
Elsa would have to be hard countered by the Pixar volcano.
Of course.
So yes, brilliant, excellent question. Thank you very much, Ben. And
you could have Dumbo the elephant and the mice from Cinderella. That would.
Oh, because Dumbo doesn't like mice.
No, elephants don't like mice.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, and the elephants in Jungle Book don't like mice either, do they?
Do they not? Oh,
we could have elephant
mice tribal.
An elephant theme deck. There's definitely enough of them. That would be amazing. Okay, yes. So we've got a load of questions that have been sent in. We're working our way through them. So when we do an episode with relevant topics, we'll answer those questions. If we have a ton, maybe we'll just do an episode where we answer questions. So please keep them coming. It also really helps us when we get these things to keep on being enthusiastic and go, yes, let's spend our evening in front of a microphone. Thanks for getting in touch, Ben. David?
No. That look and that way of saying my name.
Would you like to play a game?
No.
Okay, we've got a game that's been sent in from Levram from the Disney Lorcana HQ Discord.
I am slightly more hopeful and a little bit excited about this one.
Because it's not me.
Because you didn't design it.
Because I didn't do it. Okay, brilliant. This game, I love that Levram has actually sent in the name of the game as well. It's called That Sound Tracks. Please do. If you're sending in a game, we'd love you to do that because I'm running out. But please also send a pun related to the game. It's a simple game. I'm going to tell you the song. I can't sing you the song, sorry, because of copyright reasons. But I'm going to
line from the song or the song?
I'm going to tell you the song. You're going to tell me the movie it's from. There's 5. Let's see how many points you get, okay?
This is dangerous, but let's do it.
We're going to start super easy. Let it go.
Frozen.
Good job. Part of your world?
The Little Mermaid.
Amazing, well done. I've Got a Dream?
Tangled.
Tangled, good.
I did a quote from that at the start of the episode.
Amazing. That is a great movie. The
actual song, I Have a Dream. That was my... Did you not notice that?
Yeah. That's, my now teenager watched that on repeat when it first came out. Anyway, If You Wish Upon a Star.
Pinocchio?
Is he gonna go 5 for 5? The last one, super hard. Blame Levram, not me. A Night on Bald Mountain.
Clueless. Completely clueless.
No, I don't know if the Clueless movie is Disney or not.
No, I mean I'm lost. A Night on Bald Mountain.
Yes.
Is that like another name for the lava song from the Pixar short?
No, sorry, it's from Fantasia. But 4 out of 5, that's pretty good. I
rewatched Fantasia recently. I should have got that, but anyway.
Well, I mean, maybe I haven't listened to it myself. Maybe Leveron's making this up. It's all good. Anyway, thank you very much for sending that in. And that brings us to the end of the podcast. So thank you very much for listening. If you want to get in touch, as we said, it's at Lorcana Podcast on Twitter, and you can email us lorcanapodcast@gmail.com.
And leave comments on YouTube. We like that. And hit the thumbs up.
Yeah, do all of the things. Whatever your...
Any thumb helps.
All thumbs are good thumbs. Yeah, whatever your app has to interact, it really helps us. At the moment, we're not looking to get cash from this or sponsorship or start a Patreon or anything, but we are looking to spread the word. So anything you can do to help us spread the word would be great. It's been 2 weeks since we did our last podcast, and if I'm honest, I think we're probably going to leave it 2 weeks again because this works so much better for my schedule
and mine.
Yeah, good, amazing. But these will keep on coming. We've still got plenty of topics to talk about before the game launches.
I'm really excited about discussing a question that one of my friends asked me. It's actually Beck's partner, John.
Okay.
He plays Magic the Gathering with us, and he's really excited about Lorcana. And he said, I'm really, really excited about Lorcana, David, but what if the gameplay sucks? So I think we'll do an episode on what if the gameplay sucks, because I think that's a really interesting question.
Amazing. Brilliant. All right, that's coming up next. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.